Hi, welcome to our third presentation of our Let's Move series. This is the Build a Healthy Dinner presentation. So far you've learned how to put together a great and healthy breakfast, a healthy lunch, and now we're going to look at creating that healthy dinner and hopefully give you some easy strategies to, make it work with a busy lifestyle, but also, not sacrificing any of the nutrition. All right. So my favorite question, what's for dinner? I like the meme that says, wait a minute, I have to come up with that. I can't ask somebody else what's for dinner. I have to ask myself that question now. If you find this is a tough question to ask or to answer, you are not alone. Oftentimes when I work with clients and I go through their diet recall, when we get to dinner, it's a struggle for them to, what's a typical dinner? There's so many variables, right? It's your work schedule, it's if you grocery shopped, it's if you have a plan. There's multiple variables for, what's for dinner. So what we're going to talk about today is what should be on that plate? What's an ideal component of a healthy dinner? And then we're going to give you some tips and strategies to sort of building it from that grocery bag to, the dinner table. So taking a look at the plate, we can really use the plate itself to help come up with the healthy components of a dinner plate. And you may have seen this before. I know the My Plate, the government one, is color coded, and it's really essentially the same thing. But I have this graphic for you that just shows you some ideas of what you can put in those areas. So very often, when I talk with a variety of clients that are seeing me for maybe weight loss, maybe weight gain, maybe a health issue, the healthy plate really transfers along to all of those scenarios pretty nicely. So for the most part, this plate can be a great thing for all members of your family. So let's take a look at 25% of the protein-rich food. That's the first thing on my list. So that's going to be any of the meat portion that you're including. If there's nuts or actually there's dairy, there's protein in dairy foods, so some dairy can fit into there as well. But that's going to be that protein rich. It could be plant-based, but primarily is where you'll see some of the the meat protein portions there, or fish. And 25% of your plate is a great, 25% is a great starting point. And we're going to talk about what that translates into, like cups and ounces as well. So that's a really great place. That way you're not over, doing it in a category that can be maybe higher in saturated fat and some other things that aren't so great for you. And then we take a look at the 25% fiber-rich carbohydrates. So sometimes people will say this is where the carb goes, or the starch. So there is room in a healthy diet for healthy carbohydrates in the starchy form, like 100% whole grain pasta, brown rice, maybe whole grain breads, and there's a opportunity to include that in your diet then, but only as that small portion. So what we don't see here is if you were having like a big plate of spaghetti and meatballs, maybe the whole plate filled with spaghetti, and that would represent too much of that category. Even if it's going to be on the healthy side, we still want you to limit it to about 25% of your plate. And then we look at fruits and vegetables. So if you watch the presentation from breakfast, I really think fruit's a great time to get in the in the morning, maybe in that first part of the day. So it doesn't always fit on every plate for dinner, but we still include it because we want you to always try to get 50% of fruits and vegetables, really in any meal throughout the day. So maybe that's a salad, maybe that's serving of vegetables, maybe it's a salad with dried berries on it. So it could be a little bit of both. The possibilities are really endless. But if you take a look at a plate and you see those three main components, that you're going to be on the right track to building a very healthy dinner. So this plate looks really similar too. But what I do want to focus on here is the size of the plate. So the size of the plate's about 9 inches. So if you, in the summer, we use a lot of paper plates, maybe more so than, grilling and all that fun stuff. But you can go to the grocery store and you can buy smaller ones and you can kind of buy like the bigger ones. If you notice that smaller size is about 9 inches, And what that helps you to do is to control the portions by, not being able to overdo it on your plate. So if you use a smaller plate, it does help. It's playing a trick on your mind. The old-fashioned saying, your eyes are bigger than your stomach if you take too much. It's true, but it does sort of work the opposite way as well. If it appears to be that your plate is filled and it's a 9-inch plate versus a 12-inch plate, that's going to be just as satisfying for you, and then you're less likely to overeat. So the size of the plate is important there, but half of the plate in vegetables, that equates to about 2 cups of vegetables. So maybe that's a salad, or maybe it's 2 servings of, a vegetable. So something like broccoli and cauliflower, or green beans and carrots. Sometimes, you may have grown up in a house where there's just that one vegetable, that was added to dinner, but, that's not necessarily the case. You can have more than one vegetable. So that would be a great idea to fill up half of your plate with vegetables. And then we take a look at the protein. So anywhere between 3 to 6 ounces of protein would go in that quarter of the plate. So about 3 ounces is the size of the thickness of a deck of cards. But depending on your height, your weight, your age, that may change how much you need. And I know a lot of you are exercising. So anywhere from 3 to 6 ounces of protein would fill that quarter of your plate pretty nicely. And again, if you like to work with a dietitian, we can kind of help you with some more specific numbers. But a 3 to 6 ounce portion of a lean meat or fish would be a great option to put there. And then we take a look at the starch. So anyway, again, this ranges to half a cup, 3/4 of a cup to a cup of starch. It looks like there's some spaghetti there. Anytime we can have something whole grain, maybe that's the slice of bread, maybe a slice of whole grain bread. But there is an opportunity to have, really healthy starch there. It doesn't have to be a negative part of your plate, especially if the portion is in check. All right. So one of the biggest barriers that I have, as well as other, you know, lots of my clients have, is just that time, right? When you have time, it's a little bit easier to prep and to have a healthy meal, but time is a huge barrier for many folks. So I do have some suggestions here to really help you to get that dinner prepped ahead of time and ready to go. So 3 of my favorite tips are, as follows. The first one, if you have any time to kind of prep something over the weekend, or, on your off day, preparing, an extra main dish, or just pre-washing, pre-cutting the fruits and vegetables. That's such a big one for me and my family. If I cut it and clean it and it's ready to go, we can just grab it and eat some of the, veggies out of the container. Then I just throw the veggies back in. It's a little bit easier to do than if you look at the peppers and the cucumbers and things that aren't kind of cooked and prepped and ready, or sliced and prepped and ready to go. So that can be a super easy thing to, snack on, but then also to add to, a salad or your dinner. Making meals and freezing them for later. This one kind of goes with my number 3. This is something that I do with extra protein foods. So making extra chicken, or, ground meat. And I know that that's something I can thaw and use on a salad or in a wrap, or I can use for tacos or something like that at another time. So those are simple, kind of not simple, but just kind of creating that time out, carving that time out where you have time versus when you don't have time. And then the second one's one of my favorites. When I have time to cook, I try to cook 2 things at once. And I love it because it literally cuts the cleanup time in half, right? I feel like I just made one big mess versus 2 messes. And it doesn't seem like it's taking any more time. So if something's in the oven, maybe I can do something on the skillet, or if you're using a crock pot, or we're going to talk about Instapots, the pressure cookers, or the air fryers. You can kind of have 2 things going at once, and it does seem to take just about the same amount of time, but essentially saves time with the cleanup, and then having the next day to not have to do that. So I love making that 2 meals at once. It sounds simple, but you could even just do it, in a partial amount, which brings me to number 3, batch cooking the protein. So love, love, love this. Making a little bit extra. So when you make chicken, make some extra chicken. When you have any ground beef or turkey, make some extra. And that way you can do sort of two things at once. I just did this not too long ago with turkey. I had turkey chili, and then I did some turkey kind of Southwest stuffed peppers, which was really good. So I had a bigger container of ground turkey than maybe I really needed, but I cooked it all and was able to use it for two different meals. As a side note, that was something that I ended up doing as a meal prep for just myself. I made the meal for my family, but then I was the one that sort of ate those, the ground turkey stuffed peppers. They were delicious. I loved them. It just wasn't something that my family, they didn't even try it actually, but I used it for, a dinner and then a lunch, and was able to meal prep and have a healthy meal that was, pretty easily done ahead of time. So batch cooking the protein, doing a little bit of extra of whatever you're making, and then kind of turning that into another meal. I love that for that example that I just gave you. It gives you the ability to kind of prep and cook for maybe lunches without having to do it twice. All right, so we're going to give you a couple examples of some healthy meals. I've mentioned a few of them so far. But I'm going to just give you some examples of some of my favorite things to do. So salmon, salmon is a very healthy fish, and I feel like it's pretty easy to make because it's so high in fat. So it doesn't have the ability to sort of dry out as much, but it's high in healthy fat, so it's a good thing for you. So remembering, you don't always need a recipe. You can just bake your salmon, add some of your favorite seasonings to it, and throw it on a salad however you'd like. But this example was just sort of a throw together salad. You can use various greens, you can do spinach, arugula, iceberg lettuce, whatever you have, topped with various veggies. If you like the fruit, some folks like the fruit, dried cranberry, mandarin orange, feta cheese sort of combination. Others don't. You can go more tomatoes and cucumbers, however you'd like it. But it's a very filling meal, and you can see right there that if you take the components of that plate out, you really do have that perfect sort of my plate, fruits, vegetables, and a nice healthy serving of salmon. And taco night is another fun one too. We've all tacos go well over in your family. I know that I can make a really healthy taco too, but it's I can create some variety with it. So this is some shredded chicken that was used for tacos. You could make a taco salad with it. You can kind of make a burrito or a wrap with it as well. But you can also be creative. I also diced up, I had some mushrooms, and I diced up mushrooms and added some taco seasoning to that, and just did a little bit of a pan fry skillet with those. And I was able to make some meatless tacos, as a little bit of a variation. With tacos, you can make a salad, so you can take some of that shredded chicken or the mushrooms if you're going meatless, or burger, whatever you'd like to do, and then add it onto a salad. And that can be another, healthy variation of the meal, or something that you can prep for like maybe a lunch the next day. So just think, don't always need a recipe. You can think outside of the box. Once you have that healthy protein and you have some of those components, you can tailor it to the needs of your family. If your family likes it a certain way, and then you can add, instead of having 3 taco shells, you can add some lettuce and have it over, a salad, and really just make that small manipulation that doesn't feel like you're cooking 2 different meals, but yet you're still getting a really healthy meal. All right, so go ahead and try your variation of a salmon salad, or any kind of fish or chicken salad, and then a variation of a taco, and let us know how it works out for you. Have that healthy spin on it. All right, one pan meals. These are, quite the hit. If you go on Pinterest, you will find just a plethora of one pan meals, but it doesn't really get any easier than that. So these are meals that you can literally place the protein, place the vegetables on one pan, put it in the oven, take it out, and it is done. So sometimes you may have to, flip the veggies around a little bit, check the salmon or the meat to make sure it's cooked. I've done the salmon. I haven't done a one pan steak, but I have done one pan chicken meals and the one pan salmon. And I love this. I love the smashed potato idea. It really adds that little bit of, um, variety to the meal, but you have that protein, you have the vegetable, and you have a healthy starch too. So when you have a smashed potato, you get the skin, and the skin has, some iron and some more vitamins. So it can make even a plain potato can be healthy in moderation. All right, and then the gadgets. There's a lot of gadgets out there. Two very common ones are air fryers and pressure cookers or an Instapot. So I did include, I'm going to give you the recipes for the one pan meals. I'm going to give you the recipes for the air fryer and the pressure cooker, but I hope that you're inspired to kind of create your own fancy salad and taco meal if you so choose, and figure out the right way to have it for you and your family, but yes, yet it's still a healthy option. So back to the gadgets, the air fryers, basically they're just small convection ovens. So instead of kind of turning on the oven and you're really able to kind of have that heat swirl more evenly, and it does a more efficient way of cooking it. So I have had both of these. They are delicious, kind of an air fryer chicken tender. I love buying chicken tenders anyway because they don't take as long to cook as a full chicken breast. So that's always nice. But the air fryer version gets it crispy and they're thinner, so it's a safer, method than doing like a thicker chicken breast in an air fryer. And then I've also had the potato wedges, delicious, the garlic parmesan type of seasoning on them, but you could really do whatever type of seasoning you like. And then pressure cooker. This is an example. The picture is of a pork. I think they made like a jerk seasoning to it, so I'll give you the recipe for that. I have done pork many times in a pressure cooker. I like to shred it, and we'll do like a barbecue pulled pork, or just have like pork loin in the pressure cooker. It cooks very evenly, nicely, and is super moist. And that's something that you can shred it, use it for wraps, or you can, kind of have it with a meal. And then this other recipe here was a burrito. So essentially maybe if you're doing like a meatless meal, you can pressure cook the beans and the rice. Again, it's sort of like a set it and forget it, very easy. And you can add the rice and beans to a meal. You can add it to a wrap, however you so choose. I've also done the chicken breast in with the rice and the beans. And some corn. You can add, some taco seasoning to it, and it was the easiest pressure cooker, meal that's out there for sure. All right, so hopefully you get some ideas there, but just a nice reminder, you really do want to just keep it simple. You can have a healthy dinner anytime, any place. It doesn't have to look like all of those fancy, not fancy, but perfect little plates. So ideas on keeping it simple would be, keep an open mind about the pre-cut, pre-washed things in your grocery store. Because if it works for you, maybe in the next, pro tip, make sure you use it in the next like day or two so that it stays fresh. But that can really get you that meal or two that you need in those next 2 days after grocery shopping a little bit easier. Frozen fruits and vegetables should always, keep those on hand if you can incorporate those into meals. Canned fruits and vegetables, and also thinking about some longer lasting produce. So things in the root family, carrots, potatoes, will last much longer than vegetables like maybe tomatoes or cucumbers. So think about the order in which you use them and after grocery shopping. But also be flexible. Some of the healthy pre-prepared foods, out there are great. I try things like that all the time new at Aldi if I see, something that's sort of already prepared and ready to go. Salads that are kind of prepared and ready to go. Maybe they have the vegetables, the feta cheese, and the fruit already like ready to go. And that's something that can be inspiring to kind of try something different and new. Meals on the go. There's a whole lot of different meal companies and meal services out there, that you can try if that works for you and your family. But also just the whole idea of eating on the go. If you're living that life where you're working and going to activities or whatnot, don't let that stop you from still having a healthy meal. You can throw it in a Tupperware container and eat it on the go. And some of the non-traditional foods work the best that way. Maybe non-traditional supper foods. So salads, wraps, things like that that are cold still make a really great meal that could be very healthy for you. Breakfast for dinner, things like that can be excited for kiddos, but really for anybody. Maybe you don't have time to have that nice breakfast on the weekends, but so have it for dinner, and you can still incorporate that healthy plate method if you're putting some fruits and vegetables and portioning it the right way. Wrap it, buying a healthy wrap, you can stick any kind of extra leftovers you have, whether it's steak or chicken, peppers, onions, you can make a fajita. This is a common one that I do often if there's something that I had left over. Shrimp, spinach. I did a nice shrimp and spinach, added some cheese, and it was delicious. I had a wrap that was about 100 calories and a deli like flat out type of wrap, and it ended up being a very healthy meal, using some leftovers. So be flexible, think about, out of box, maybe what you think of for a healthy dinner works some nights, but it might not, be appropriate or work out for all of the nights. So keep an open mind, and as long as you have those main components of a healthy meal, you are going to do well. All right, so we are full of ideas. I gave you a bunch today, but I'm hopeful that I can help you out with, really making a meal plan for you and helping you out with even just a week of meal planning, starting a week at a time, making a few meals, using some leftovers. If this is something that you need some help with and you'd like us to help you get started, please reach out to either myself, Leah, or Brad, our other dietitian, and we would love to help you with this. All right, I hope you like these, webinars, and now you have some recipes and some ideas to kind of build that healthy breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So good luck, and we hope to hear from you soon.